Okay.
My name is Bill Kegler, and I am the Goodman Sports Complex Manager at Madison College.
So, what's your main
Supervision and recruitment for events that we have at the college, whether it's the Goodman Sports Complex or a baseball facility, but I also run the challenge course here at the college. So it's soliciting customers for the challenge course, generating revenue to sustain those facilities and those programs, and then general oversight of programs of camps and the facilities here at the athletic department within Madison College. I'm not certified myself, but we have a facilitator. His name is Jeff Messer, so he's our challenge course facilitator, and I'm more of the manager of the challenge course, so I deal with the business side of things with the recruitment, the payment, the liability waivers, the scheduling, and the organization. And then as far as the program, Jeff facilitates the program and any things that come along with the outcomes that the customer wants, whether it's on the high ropes course or it's on the ground. We cater the needs of the customers, and Jeff fulfills the program.
Okay. So, what would you say, what's a typical day for you? How's that?
There isn't one.
Isn't one? No?
No, every day is different. So some days it's in at 8 and out at 4, and some days it's in at 8 and leave at 10. Some days come in at 2 and leave at 10. So it's not any type of typical day, but usually I like to come in and get myself organized with a to-do list, what I need to get done for the day, make sure my calendar is organized for what I need to accomplish for the day, and then execute it from there. And that includes answering phone calls, taking emails, meetings with people or meetings with groups, and then all the little nuanced things that go together with making sure that the programs are planned correctly. And then sometimes it includes supervision of the programs. So for example, Saturday we'll have a camp in the gym that'll run from 10 to 4. And then we'll also have 3 soccer games out at the soccer field, which will run from roughly 9 a.m. until about 6 p.m. So it'll be bouncing back between the facilities, making sure the customers have everything they need, making sure the people who are working admission, working concessions have everything that they need to be successful in their jobs. So that's a weekend. That can sometimes be a weekday. Sometimes it's 8 hours of staring at the computer, and checking emails and answering phone calls and sending out marketing material and putting different requests together for user groups or for vendors and a whole variety of things. So there's never a normal day. I wouldn't say that my job is A, B, C. I usually go from A to Z and then back to R and then maybe to L, and it's kind of all over the place. But I think organization is the big part, to know what has to get done and to get it done, understanding what the most important and pressing matter is, getting those taken care of, and then working forward from there.
So then, your camps and stuff, all the insurance paperwork and stuff like that?
Yep, so I set up all the registration for the camps. We do everything online, so parents will register their kids and complete all the waivers online ahead of time, so we don't have to have any paper copies the day of the event. And then, so actually for the camp this Saturday, I need to send out a confirmation email later this afternoon that just explains to people all the details, where it is, what time it is, what they need to bring, so that way they have the information, so they have a good experience with the camp.
All right. I guess then, what kind of problems, I guess, you got to deal with?
Scheduling is probably the biggest one, especially with the weather we've had this fall. Like if a group wants to get on a challenge course and it's snowing, it makes it not as enticing for them to want to use it. So finding a common ground to figure out how we can still get them out there, or to reschedule. With soccer and softball, the snow, like yesterday I had to go clear snow off the field because we had a game last night. So things that just pop up randomly. So you have to deal with that, and then scheduling employees to be out at the fields. So tomorrow night we have a sectional semifinal soccer game, which is Madison East versus Madison West. So there will be a lot of people there. So understanding the logistics that come along with that. So we need to have extra workers to accommodate the large crowd that we're going to have. And a problem there is it's Halloween. So what do people want to do on Halloween? They want to go out on Halloween. They don't want to work, right? So, just something that's unexpected like that you can't control, that you need to work through and find a way and find a solution. I wouldn't call them concerns. There hasn't been any issues this year. There's been issues in the past with certain schools. They played twice this year already, and there's been no issues. But logistically ahead of time, each school is going to have extra crowd control people on hand, and kind of know what to look for. It is helpful that it's a neutral site, so it's not on, and neither of them these particular schools have a campus where they have a field at, so it's kind of neutral site, which is nice because it makes it a little bit more difficult for people to get here. So if they don't have a vehicle, public transportation is easily accessible. So it won't be as big of a crowd, say, as if it was on East Campus or on West Campus, where it was in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
Granted, we're in East neighborhood here, but it's a little bit different situation. So yeah, some concerns, but nothing that can't be thwarted with a little planning ahead of time.
Okay. Yeah. So, what do you like most about your job? You have to say.
Flexibility. So part of it is I work a lot of nights, I work a lot of weekends, but I don't have to be here 8 to 4 and then be here from 4 to 10 at night as well. So I'm not always working 16 hours, and sometimes that's the case. So try to flex my hours a little bit so that way I come in a little bit later, so I don't have 14-hour days every single day. So it's nice to be able to do that, so you're not being worn down by the long hours, and especially this time of year when the weather's not so nice and you're plowing the field, or you have the maintenance things that are involved too, and it just gets to be long days sometimes. So to be able to do that, but really the support we have here, like we have maintenance people at the college who can assist with those things. We have custodial people who can assist with cleaning up the restrooms or picking up the trash, and those kinds of things. So it's huge to have the support of other departments and the unity of the college, which is huge. At my previous job, which was at Just a Game Fieldhouse in the Dells, I was the maintenance guy and I was the garbage guy on top of running all of the events. So it gets to be kind of long days when you're cleaning toilets and then solving problems on the court and taking out the trash at the end of the night and scrubbing the floor. So it's just really nice to have support of the other groups here at the college to be able to help you. And the big thing that I was taught when I was really young is your custodian's always your best friend.
Yeah.
So always take care of your custodians, because they can make your life really good or they can make your life really terrible. So I'm thankful that I have good custodians here that help us out with the cleanup of our events and the preparation for our events as well.
Okay. So like, when you were at Just a Game Fieldhouse, like you got to see like all kinds of EMU teams from around the country, or?
Yeah, so we were more of a regional facility. So we would have Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Michigan a little bit, and then occasionally some Missouri teams, and from the Dakotas. But it was more regional, and we did, I think, like 3,500 teams a year that would come through the doors for various tournaments that we ran. It was mostly basketball, but a little bit of volleyball as well. So it was AAU during the summer, and then school teams during the school year. So it was like Waterloo's community youth teams would come play on the Saturday tournament, the Sunday tournament. And then in the summer was like summer high school teams coming to play, or AAU teams coming to play as well. Yeah. Yeah, so we had a few. So Sam Decker was there, a few times when he was like a junior, I think maybe going into his senior year. Diamond Stone, yeah, there's a bunch of guys that would randomly come through, for a weekend tournament. But then we also host the Wisconsin High School State All-Star Game. So typically the best high school players in the state come through there in June. So we usually see those from Wisconsin. So yeah, Henry Allenson and some of the guys that are in the NBA now have come through and played there. Oh gosh, that's a hard one. I don't really dislike a lot of things in life. I usually am pretty optimistic with trying to make the best out of things. I guess the one thing that is a little bit difficult is that our facilities aren't all in one location. So our baseball and softball field are outside, and granted, they're on this campus, which is nice because it could be a situation where they're on a different campus, like on the south side, and you'd have to take time to drive down there, or the baseball field's a little bit further away. But oftentimes, because of limited resources, we share products like wristbands or banners or signs or different things. So then we need to take them down and move them between locations. Whereas if you had like one sports complex where your baseball field, your softball field, your soccer field, and your gym was right there, and it was all in one building, it's a little bit easier because you can share things. But that's not necessarily always the easiest thing to do because different sports will have different needs. How's that for a cop-out answer?
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. All right. I guess you touched a little bit how you began your career, but I guess I mean, did you was there like a certain did you have like a plan in place, or it's pretty much just kind of fall into place where you landed?
No, and I tell this story a lot, like when I go talk to classes for internships and just like career advice. Um, I never imagined that I would be doing this job or dreamt or worked to get to this point. I've just always worked hard and the opportunities have presented themselves. So the story I tell people is I ended up at just a game because of a guy that I knew when I was little, who's like the godfather of Wisconsin basketball. And I just created a relationship with him and got to know him, and we've become friends over the years. And the owners of Just the Game Fieldhouse called him in regard to me when I applied for the job. And he wasn't listed as a reference of mine, but because he knows everybody in the state of Wisconsin regarding basketball, they called him. And he just said, hire him, because he knew my character and he knew my personality and knew who I was. So that's how I got my first job, was because of a guy that I've known since I was 8 years old, that I've just always been cordial with and had respect for and had a good relationship with that's built up throughout the years. And then here, I mentioned cleaning toilets earlier. I always joke with people that I got this job because I was cleaning toilets. So our athletic director here, Steve Hauser, his sons play basketball up at Just the Game Fieldhouse a lot, and he would always see me there, and I would see him there. And one day I was cleaning the bathrooms, and he came in and asked me what I was doing, and I said, "Well, I'm cleaning the toilets. You know, they're dirty." And he said, "Well, don't you have people to do that?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I have employees, but I can take care of this myself, and I'm not going to ask my employees to do something that I wouldn't do myself." So when I get in a situation where I have to be two places at once, I can ask somebody, just, hey, can you go clean the bathrooms for me real quick? I need to go take care of X, Y, or Z. And he referenced that when he called me about moving from there down to here into a position at Madison College. And so it's one of those things where having somebody I knew when I was in second grade and cleaning toilets on a Saturday, continually helped move my career along. It's more than that. It's the process of improving businesses and making sure you're organized. But you never know who's watching or what occurrence can happen or what relationship. You could sit down at lunch today and somebody could sit down next to you, and then you just develop a relationship with them and they offer you a job next week. Like, those types of crazy things can happen. So I always tell people the three things I always rely on are: be a good person, do the right thing, and work hard. And if you do that, the opportunities will present themselves.
How would you suggest getting into this field? I guess what would your
Volunteer. So whether it's at the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, WYSO, with the youth football program or whatever it is, like, just get experience through volunteering. Because the hardest part when you start applying for jobs, and the biggest feedback you're going to hear is, well, you don't have any experience. You don't have any experience. And you'll say, well, how do I get experience if nobody will hire me, right? So it's like a hamster wheel. You just keep spinning it.
Yeah.
So I had two internships, like I mentioned, that I did, and they created some relationships that helped me, but ultimately they created some memories that I have that I've been able to pull from, later on in my career, that I never would have had I not worked for peanuts, basically. And when I was in high school, I worked for the YMCA doing youth basketball camps, and that experience, helped me with public speaking and organizational skills and managing people. Even when I was in high school and I was doing it for free, and those are really the best experiences because you get to the nuts and bolts of the organization or the operation that you're into, because they're going to say, hey, go stand out on the street corner and hand out flyers. And it sucks, but at the end, if you can take a step back and appreciate it, you understand they're having you do that for a reason, for promotional purposes, and then you have to develop your interpersonal skills and how can you sell to people, right? And it may be outside your comfort zone, but how can you engage with people, who don't want to talk to you, right?
Yeah.
And that's just one example, but an internship will put you in those situations that you're uncomfortable with, and you have to figure out a way to be comfortable in them, and it helps you grow as a person and develop some skills as well. So, and figure out what you love. I loved basketball, and that was a passion, and I followed it. But I had internships where I was dealing with soccer and hockey, because it got me out of my comfort zone as well. So try to find things that you don't love, but then you can take the opportunity that you have there and pull it into what you do love and make it better and have a broader perspective.
Okay. I guess if you could do it all over again, would you choose that path, or is there anything you'd like to change that?
That's a really good question. And I wish people would ask that more. And no, I don't think I would, because all of my experiences led me to where I am now. And I feel like I'm in a good spot where I control my future. And I'm able to do good work. So to be able to like control everything would be so boring, because there would be no opportunity or excitement. You would have your path in front of you and you go, okay, today I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go do this. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go do that. And in 5 years, I'm going to switch from this job to that job. Like, there's nothing exciting about that. It's boring. And I guess that's part of like my nature. And I think it's part of being an athlete is I'm really competitive. So I always want another challenge. So I want to win at all costs. So like when I was at Just the Game Fieldhouse, we increased participation by a ridiculous amount when I was there. And every year I was trying to beat last year's participation number, right? And now with participation here, it's the same thing. I'm always trying to beat last year's participation number. So every day is a new challenge. And I think that if I were to do it all over again and be able to see my future, that would be boring and that wouldn't be for me. So I think the spontaneity of it is something that I really enjoy. So no, I don't think I would. And I think that, like I mentioned before, be a good person, do the right thing, work hard, and the opportunities will present themselves. And that's the path that you go down, and you can control it to a degree. But at the end of the day, you got to do the work. And if you do that, it'll put you in the right spot.
Yes, so is there any more advice, I guess, you would give someone who's considering this field?
Yeah, and it's really like, so I coached here for 2 years. I was the men's basketball coach here for 2 years, and it's always the same type of stuff. Whether you're coaching a basketball player or you're trying to give advice, to an intern or doing, a talk at a class, and it's be comfortable being uncomfortable, which is really weird and backwards. But that's when you have the greatest opportunity for growth and learning. So, like I mentioned, like if you're an intern and they stick you on the corner and you got to hand out flyers, like it's probably snowing outside or whatever, and it sucks. But like in that moment, like you have two choices, right? You have the choice to this sucks. I'm just going to stand here and be a lump of coal, or I can do this job to the best of my ability and try to learn from it. So there's going to be a lot of crummy jobs that come across your plate, or within a job that you love, there's parts to it that suck, right? It's how you approach it. Like, okay, this is going to help in this regard, so I'm going to get it done, get it taken care of. So just having that mindset of, all right, no matter what it is, I'm going to win, and there's an opportunity for growth and everything. And there's a lot of things that are uncomfortable, but those are the things that are going to help you the most. So lean into those.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
That's my coach speak for you.
Yeah, sounds like that. Yeah. Okay. I guess what skills, abilities, and personal, I guess, yeah, what skills and abilities, or I guess, what do you think is essential to be successful in this job?
Organization is a big one. I think, like we talked about a little bit earlier, is there's a lot of moving parts all the time, whether it's with rescheduling or weather or employees or whatever it is, and having a system in place of how you're going to handle all those moving parts, in a timely fashion, comes with experience. But having the ability to be organized and having a system in place is huge. Being flexible, like things never go according to plan. Like I mentioned, never is it A, B, C, and you just go on a row. Sometimes something happens, and then one of your employees is sick, and you have to figure out a solution. Or it snowed yesterday, right? And we had a game last night. So how do we get the snow off the field within the parameters we have with the turf? So just being flexible is a big thing. Yeah, and calm, I think, is a big one, because there's a lot of human interaction, especially with like what I deal with youth sports. So sometimes there's some conflict resolution that happens, like in a youth basketball tournament, and somebody's upset with an official or their schedule or any number of issues that they could have, and just being calm and not overreacting with energy back in their face, I think is a big skill to have. And this comes with time, but learning not to take it personal, like they're not upset at you,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a personal vendetta of any sort, but they're upset at the situation, and you may have had a part in planning that or not, and you're the person to try to calm them down or find a solution for them. So just having a calm demeanor is huge because fighting fire with fire is probably never a good solution.
Yeah. Um, I guess what are some of the common career paths in this field?
Um, so I don't know that there's any common. I'm just thinking about the people in our office here, and their background. So we have people who are college athletes and kind of followed that path, and we have people who weren't college athletes and kind of went the route of interning and working athletic departments or working in youth organizations like YMCA's or other nonprofit organizations to get experience. So, like I said before, there's never a straight path. It's kind of your own path and where it takes you, and obviously you need to have the drive and desire to accomplish something, and then it puts you in a position to be successful. So that's another cop out answer. There's no straight path, on how to get somewhere. It's just about diving in and doing the work and then navigating it so that way you can be successful in what you do, and then people will want you, right? Like people have to covet your work and your abilities and what you do. And that's the most important part because otherwise, you'll never progress and move forward if you're not being successful.
Makes sense. Okay. I guess, so is there any kind of accomplishments that tend to be valued and rewarded in this field? Anything you can think of?
Yeah, staying within your budget. That's a big one. Yeah, that's just something that we're working on right now is our upcoming budgets, and obviously you never want to spend more than you bring in. So being financially sustainable is coveted, and I think people appreciate that. Um, Being organized is something that people appreciate. Like had I walked in at 11:35 for our 11:30 meeting today, like you would have been a little bit nervous, right? You'd
Yeah.
think about me, is he not showing up, right?
Yeah.
And just making sure that you're organized with all those kinds of things is huge with your schedule. And then just being a good person, like being able to have a relationship with somebody and understand that we may have our differences and how to approach something or how to solve a problem, but at the end of the day, we're both working towards the same goal and know that you're going to pick up your slack, I'm going to pick up my slack. So basically, that's being a good team player, to put it in athletics terms. Like you pull your weight, I pull my weight, and things will move forward. Life will be good.
I guess, yeah, this will be the last question. So, can you recommend any magazines or websites or any kind of professional associations that could be helpful?
That's another really good question. Nobody's ever asked me before. Let me see. Well, let me look around my office what I have. So there's Athletic Business is a magazine that I get. I don't have one in here right now. I don't think. What's this one? This one's Recreation Management, which is a good one just for they have random articles about different facility things and management things and just tips. But those Athletic Business are really the two that I read or follow up on. Like websites or anything. I mean, NERSA is one of the more broad-reaching ones. I don't really do a lot with them because my area is a little bit different than community-based recreation. So it involves collegiate stuff, but it involves college stuff. Gosh, that's a good question. I was not prepared to answer. You stumped me. Yeah, so I would just say recreation management and athletic business are the two I can think of right now, and I'll probably think of some more later today, and I'll email them to you.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. It's Athletic Business. That's the one that's located in Middleton, that one?
It's actually downtown on the square.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. A little bit. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming in.
Yeah, I'm really busy and stuff.
Yeah, we have so the turkey trot races this weekend.